Alright, hey there guys, Andrew DeCosta here, aka Jatterbro95, coming at you guys with another video. And in this video is a conversation that I did not think we needed to have because I thought we were just going to accept this as common knowledge. Once this player actually retires, that he would get his jersey retired by this franchise. But I guess, people have this debate, and I don't know why. It's really dumb. And that's James Harden. Today, the Nets made their return back to Houston for the first time since James Harden was dealt about a month and a half ago now. And there's a few people that were debating some back and forth, like, should Harden's jersey be retired? And I'm on the side of, I'll get to where I stand on it in a bit, but the reason I'm making this video is because I saw Chris Broussard on his podcast with, I have no idea who it is, and quite frankly, I don't give a shit to know who it is, because quite frankly, I just don't give a fuck to know who he is. But he was sitting there saying that no, Harden should not have his jersey retired because his existence was quote-unquote hollow, which is a weird way to describe James Harden's time there. I would have said, this is my personal opinion, I would have said James Harden's time there was not as prosperous as it could have been, but it's not underwhelming. It's kind of in that middle between it was a good time, but it wasn't a bad time either. And it's not like purgatory either. Don't get it twisted. However, I'm on the side of Harden should absolutely have his jersey retired in Houston, and I don't understand why this is a conversation for a few reasons. First of all, James Harden was obviously the best player the Rockets have had since Hakeem Olajuwon, and to be honest, that's not even a debate in my opinion, okay? Yes, they had Yao Ming, yes, they had Tracy McGrady, but James Harden is the reason that the Rockets have been relevant in the last 2 decades, okay? Granted, yes, the Rockets with T-Mac and Yao Ming were good, but they weren't as good as with the Rockets with James Harden. And can I just say as a side note, the Rockets are consistently overlooked as one of the more consistent organizations in the past 30 years, as they've been consistently a playoff team, regardless of the personnel that they have had. Even if they have like star players and shit, they're still consistently considered a playoff team despite injuries and stuff like that. And yeah, Daryl Morey did keep them afloat for the longest of times. However, that time is over now. He's gone over to Philly, and he has, turned Philly around into a championship caliber team, like I'm gonna just say. And I'll talk about Philly in another video, whether I think they're legit or not as well, like I did with Utah. But Daryl Morey consistently was able to make the roster at least playoff contendable for the better part of 2 decades, even with guys like James Harden, Tracy McGrady, Yao Ming. They did what they did, and then, they're consistently a great organization. But when you look at James Harden's tenure, again, I think it is a little underwhelming that they never made a finals appearance, okay? Especially in 2018. They should have made the finals. But, again, that's not for this video. But to act as if James Harden's entire time in Houston was a hollow existence is so laughable to me that it honestly makes me wonder, what the fuck are people like? Why do people listen to these types of guys? First of all, James Harden led the Rockets to 2 conference finals appearances in 2015 and 2018. That alone is not a hollow existence, okay? Even if they didn't make the finals, 2 conference finals in a 5-year span is nothing to scoff at, okay? And if you want to be completely honest, I would actually commend James Harden for leading the Rockets to 2 conference finals appearances, especially in years like 2015 when Dwight Howard was a shell of himself and he was in and out of the lineup, and yet the Rockets still won 56, 57 games, and Harden was second in MVP voting that season. I actually commend James Harden for that, although I don't think he should have won the MVP because, Steph Curry was the more deserving candidate, and he definitely deserved the MVP in my eyes. However, the same could not be said for 2017, where the Rockets were again a 57-win team after grabbing Mike D'Antoni, and yet now James Harden's not winning an MVP, and I think he should have won 2 MVPs in Houston. But nonetheless, 2 conference finals appearances. That is nothing to be scoffing at and saying it's a hollow existence. Okay, if that is a hollow existence, then there's a lot of people on who I'm going to talk about that I think will have their jerseys retired that definitely had a lot more of a hollow existence than fucking James Harden did. Okay, okay. Anyhow, so even with what James Harden did with like what he made a postseason appearance every year in Houston. Even that is something to not scoff over and say it was a hollow existence. Now, if you want me, I'll get to the players now that have had their jerseys retired that have had even more hollow existence than James Harden did. One is Nick Collison. Yes, that Nick Collison. You know, the dude that played on the Thunder when they made the finals and was nothing more than your average starting power forward that could not space out the floor. Yeah, he has his jersey retired by the Oklahoma City Thunder, which okay. First of all, huh? Second of all, why? Third of all, huh and why? Because how the fuck does Nick Collison get his jersey retired? Respect to the man for how he played, because he was a solid player. Nothing special, but he was solid. But at the same time, how the fuck does Nick Collison, of all people, get his jersey retired? It's just, oh, good lord. Okay. But anyways, he has his jersey retired in Oklahoma City. And yet nobody complained when he got, well, some people had jokes, but, you know, his existence, I would argue, is a hell of a lot more hollow than James Harden had. And there are a few other players that, even in, you know, historically speaking, had hollow existences, you know, despite having their jersey retired. Chris Bosh had a hollow, I wouldn't say Chris Bosh had a hollow existence in Miami, so I'll talk, Chris Bosh will be on here that I will discuss. But players that had hollow existences that, you know, necessarily did not lead to anything fruitful that are retired. Vince Carter, by that definition, then had a hollow existence in Toronto. They did not even make a conference finals appearance. Meanwhile, James Harden made two in the West. And yet nobody complained that Vince Carter's getting his jersey retired by the Raptors. You know, same can be said with guys like, say, what the fuck? God, I'm trying to think here. I don't do these videos scripted, so I don't actually have a name written down for players. Carmelo Anthony, that's it. Carmelo Anthony had by that definition, Carmelo Anthony had a hollow existence in New York. As, yes, they were playoff teams, but they never made it to the conference finals, even when they won 58 games, 56, whatever year it was, whatever game it was, games that they won in 2013. I swear it was 54. But yeah, nobody's going to complain when Melo gets his jersey retired, even though he's not playing, even though he's not retired. And I kind of shot myself in the foot with that because I just realized that he's not retiring. But anyhow, but that kind of transitions into other players that if they were to retire right now, will still have jerseys retired by organizations, despite the fact that they had a hollow existence. Guys like Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, Kevin Love, Again, I don't have these written down. Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, Kevin Love, DeAndre Jordan, I would potentially argue for the Clippers could get his jersey retired. If Giannis retired right now, his jersey would be retired by the Milwaukee Bucks. Kawhi Leonard, even though he played one season and dipped and got them a title, he still is going to get his jersey retired by the Raptors, as sad as that is to say. But then again, he got them their only championship, so congrats to that. Mike Conley will get his jersey retired by the Grizzlies, despite the fact that they only made one conference finals appearance in the years that Mike Conley was playing in Memphis. Same with Marc Gasol. He's going to get his jersey retired. Despite the fact that, you know, again, one conference finals appearance. Other players that I think will get their jersey retired despite having quote-unquote hollow existence in their teams. Paul George with the Indiana Pacers. He more likely will get his jersey retired by the Pacers because he led them to two conference finals appearances and was one game away from the finals in 2013, which, can I just say, is quite an achievement for a young star, up-and-coming star, to take the 66-win Heat to 7 games. That was pretty impressive. I will give Paul George all the props for that. But yeah, Paul George will get his jersey retired by the Indiana Pacers when his career is over. Okay? I will think also John Wall might get his jersey retired by the Wizards. I doubt that one, to be completely honest, but I wouldn't be far-fetched to say that it could theoretically happen. Other players. Pau Gasol is going to get his jersey retired by Memphis, despite the fact that he did nothing with the Memphis Grizzlies. He made some postseason appearances, probably. I don't know much about Pau Gasol's career, but he made some postseason appearances. But no way in hell were the Grizzlies championship contenders with him, and yet they're still probably going to retire his jersey simply because he's one of the best players that team has ever had. Same with Chris Paul again in New Orleans. He did not do anything. He did not even make a conference finals in New Orleans. He didn't make a conference finals until 2018. But anybody who would argue that Chris Paul does not deserve to have his jersey retired in New Orleans, you're just fucking ignorant. Because Chris Paul is possibly the best point guard that the Pelicans have ever had. I say that knowing that they had guys like fucking Muggsy Bogues and Baron Davis, for God's sake. So, and again, no disrespect to them, it's just Chris Paul is just a better player. But, again, these guys that don't have much accomplishments with these teams will more than likely have their jerseys retired if they did not, even despite the fact that they had hollow successes in those teams. Same with Chris Bosh in Toronto. I did mention him before, and I'll talk about him now. And just a quick side note, people who say that Julius Randle is better than Chris Bosh, you're smoking crack. But as it pertains to that, when it comes to Chris Bosh, he did not have the greatest of the time in Toronto, but again, he will get his jersey retired because of the fact that he simply is one of the best players Toronto has ever had. And with the whole Vince Carter thing, he'll get his jersey retired not just because he's one of the best players the Raptors have ever had, but he literally inspired an entire generation of a country. I say this as a Canadian, okay? I say this as a Canadian who, granted, did not watch the Raptors and did not care about Toronto like that. But you look at some of these, if you look around in Canada and you talk to some people in Canada, a lot of people will say that the Raptors, the reason they got into basketball was because what Vince Carter was doing in Toronto, which is very impressive because Toronto at that time was absolute dirt until he got to the Raptors. Granted, they were an expansion team, but they were still fucking trash. And he still inspired an entire generation of Canadian players. Tristan Thompson, Jamal Murray, Andrew Wiggins, and those are the only Canadian players I can remember at this time. All probably view Vince Carter as the inspiration for them to getting into basketball, probably other than Steve Nash. But even then, Steve Nash is technically not even Canadian. He was born in Africa, I believe, if I remember correctly. Something related to Africa. All I know is he's of African something. I have no idea. But even then, you got these guys that don't have the success that even James Harden in Houston had, and yet they're more than likely still going to have their jersey retired just because they're just one of the best players that team has ever had. I mean, for fuck's sake, the Miami Heat retired Michael Jordan's number despite the fact that he never played a game for them. He never played a game in fucking Miami, and the Heat still retired his jersey out of respect. So okay. I kind of got a little bit carried away, and yeah, it is what it is on that. But you get what I mean, man. To think that James Harden will not get his jersey retired is like trying to say that, James Harden's a ball hog, Giannis doesn't have any skill, or fucking Kyrie's a team cancer. They're just fabulously not true, and they're only out there because the media is perpetuating those dumbass fucking narratives just so you can get that precious little clickety-click. Anyways, that's going to be the end of this video, guys. Yeah, be sure to subscribe be sure to like this video if you guys did enjoy. Comment your thoughts about this because I do want to hear this conversation with you guys because I do know that there are some people on both sides of the aisle. I personally am on the Harden should and he definitely should get his jersey retired by the what the fuck's it called? Rockets. But yeah, he definitely will get his jersey retired. Comment your thoughts about it. Like the video if you guys did enjoy. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm out.